Good morning and welcome to Smile English Stories, where you can listen to English spoken in lots of different contexts. England has a very complicated history. So today I am going to take you on a journey through time in the northeast of England. If I speak too quickly or too slowly, you can change the speed in YouTube. I am from the northwest of England. But if I say England, you might have thought of the Queen, or Big Ben, or a cup of tea, or the rain, or Robin Hood. Ding! So today, I am going to take you back through the history of a pretty little town in the northeast of England. Its name is York. York is a town in the north of England. It's about 1.5 hours from where my parents live. York is in a beautiful situation. It's between 3 national parks. The North York Moors to the northeast, the Yorkshire Dales National Park to the northwest, the Peak District to the southwest. York is an old historical town with a wall round. You can walk on the ramparts and visit a little castle. It also has an enormous church, York Minster. And in the centre of York, you can walk on old cobbled streets. And you can go in a tea shop to have a scone and a cup of tea. Jesus was born in the year 0. And in 43 AD, that means Anno Domini, it's Latin for the year of our Lord, 43 years after Jesus was born, a lot of England and Wales was in the Roman Empire. But the English and the Welsh liked the Romans. In York, they built the wall round the city to protect the people of York from the Celts who lived in Scotland. And the Romans built baths and villas and temples churches and stone streets. But then in 410 AD, there was a big problem back in Italy where the Romans came from. And the Romans suddenly left England.
Goodbye.
And went back across the sea and through Europe down to Italy to fight. The people in York had a big problem, an enormous problem.
What happened?
The Romans had gone bye-bye, and the people in York could not fight. They did not know how to fight.
Really?
And they were scared of the Celts from Scotland. In 450 AD, some other people came to England. Some people say they came to protect the English from the Celts. Other people say they came because they needed farmland for crops and animals. And those people were the Anglo Saxons. The Anglo Saxons came from the Netherlands and the north of Germany and Denmark, and they rowed in little boats across the sea to England. That must have been a long way. The Anglo Saxons were farmers and they lived in huts. So all the beautiful Roman buildings were forgotten. But there were other people who needed the land to farm in England. They came from Scandinavia. They came from Norway because in Norway there were too many mountains and hills. They came from Sweden because in Sweden there was too much forest. And they came from Denmark because in Denmark it was too sandy to farm. And those people were called the Vikings or the Norsemen. The Vikings spoke another language. The language was called Norse, and in Norse, Viking means pirate. First, the Viking warriors came to England. They didn't want the land. They wanted possessions. The Vikings didn't row across the sea. They sailed in sailing boats. But they had special long sailing boats we called longboats. They sailed across the sea and they attacked. They attacked the churches and monasteries because the churches and monasteries were rich. They took jewelry and they took coins. But the Vikings also attacked the Anglo-Saxon villages. They took tools because they wanted the metal, and they set fire to the villages. The people in England and Wales were scared of the Vikings. But then in 866 AD, a lot of Viking families from Denmark came to York. The Vikings had long boats and long houses, and to make their houses they used sticks. So they needed to weave. They wove the sticks together. They used smaller sticks and they went under and over and under and over and over, and over, and it's difficult, and under and over. And then they used mud, horrible, sticky mud, to hold the sticks together. A Viking house was divided in two parts. The part where the people lived and the part where the animals lived. And in the middle of the house was the fire. So the smoke from the fire went up through a hole in the roof. The Vikings were not only farmers and warriors, they were businessmen. The Vikings sailed all over Europe and to Asia to do business and to exchange things they made. York became the capital of Viking England and Wales. The Vikings called it Jorvik. Today in York, there is a Jorvik museum, and you can go round a Viking village in a little train. You can watch scenes from the village, and you can listen to and smell smells from the village too. The Vikings were good with their hands. They made jewelry from metal which came from all over Europe and England. They made cups, but not from pot, from wood. And they made clothes from animal skins. Jorvik was a big market in the north of England. The only town bigger than York was London. Listen, I love this name. Eric Bloodaxe. Eric Bloodaxe was the last Viking king of York. He was from Norway. Some people say he died on a battlefield. Others say he was assassinated. That was in 954, and that was the end of the Vikings in York.
Goodbye.
And it was almost the end of the Anglo Saxons, because in 1066 a very famous person sailed across the English Channel, killed the Anglo-Saxon king Harold with a arrow in his eye. But that's another story. So if you enjoyed learning about a little corner of England, let me know and share the video with a friend. See you next time.